reporter.
What did you mean? Who was trying to deprive poor people of the right to vote? Who were you referring to when you said that?
Senator, as I said, those were not my words.
Oh, you never said that. You did not.
Senator, those were not my words.
We deposed your partners on that call. They would say, no, she never said it.
Senator, I am telling you here today under oath that those were not my words. I never spoke to them.
We deposed your partners and put them under oath. They would say, no, she never said that?
Senator, I can't tell you what someone else would say under oath. I can tell you under oath that those were not my words. I never spoke to the media about that call.
I'm just wondering why.
Senator, I have represented a number of clients over the course of my career. I have represented the government. I have represented clients.
So you don't have any problem with this? You think this is a good idea? You stand by it?
Senator, my job in that representation was to vigorously represent my clients, which I did.
Sure, but we'd established, I think a second ago, I thought you told Senator Kennedy that you resigned from Jones Day over a client that the firm was representing who you didn't like.
Senator, that is not at all what I said.
You didn't resign from Jones Day?
We got to be honest. Watching this, I was so impressed with how these two senators didn't back down. They were relentless in their questioning, and for good reason. They weren't just asking legal questions. They were getting to the core of this nominee's character and her past actions. It's a perfect example of what these hearings are supposed to be about, making sure we're putting people with integrity on the bench. The nominee's answers, or lack thereof, really speak for themselves. This isn't just about a political party or a single case. It's about whether someone who has shown such questionable judgment in their career should be entrusted with the immense power of a federal judgeship. Stick around because we're going to break down exactly why Senators Kennedy and Hawley were so effective and what this all means for our justice system. And hey, if you find this kind of content interesting, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on more videos like this.
Counselor, tell me how to say your last name.
Sooknanan, Senator.
Say it again, please, ma'am.
Sooknanan.
Sooknanan?
Sooknanan.
Sooknanan, okay. Counselor, you used to practice law at Jones Day, is that right?
That's correct, Senator.
Okay. And there was an article in the New York Times. I don't know whether you leaked it to them or somebody from your law firm leaked it to them. Your firm, Jones Day, you were a partner then, and you were representing a party, your firm was, and you were, in a post-election challenge to Pennsylvania, the Pennsylvania Supreme Court. The Pennsylvania Supreme Court, of course, extended the filing deadline for absentee ballots in the president's election, and that was challenged as being unconstitutional under both the state and the federal constitution. Am I right?
Yes, Senator.
And Jones Day was handling that case, right?
That's correct.
And you were a partner at Jones Day, is that right?
That's correct, Senator.
Okay. And who was your client in that case?
The firm's client was the Pennsylvania GOP, Senator.
Well, it's your client too, right?
Correct, Senator. I was not the lawyer in that case, but yes, Senator.
But you were going to share in the profits made from the bills paid by the Pennsylvania GOP, right?
Senator, it was a firm client. I was a partner at the firm.
And you were going to share in the money, right?
Correct, Senator.
Okay. And in a call where you and some of your partners were talking about the case, this is what you said about your client who's paying you. You said, this is according to an August 25, 2022 article. You said, quote, "This lawsuit was brought for no other reason than to deprive poor people of the right to vote," close quote. You said that, didn't you?
Senator, those were not my words. I do not know who provided that quote to the reporter.
You gave it to the reporter, didn't you?
Senator, I never spoke to the reporter or anyone in the media about the meeting in question, and I'll tell you why. As a partner at Jones Day, all partners are bound by a confidentiality obligation to the firm. And that meeting was an internal, confidential partners meeting. Yeah, I never spoke to the media about it, and those were not my words, Senator.
This is a violation of about 927 provisions of the Code of Ethics, isn't it?
Senator, that's why I never spoke to that reporter, and those were not my words. I do not know who provided that quote to the
What
reporter.
did you mean? Who was trying to deprive poor people of the right to vote? Who were you referring to when you said that?
Senator, as I said, those were not my words.
Oh, you never said that. You denied.
Senator, those were not my
So
words.
if we deposed your partners on that call, they would say, no, she never said it.
Senator, I am telling you here today under oath that those were not my words. I never spoke to them.
If we deposed your partners and put them under oath, they would say, no, she never said that?
Senator, I can't tell you what someone else would say under oath. I can tell you under oath that those were not my words. I never spoke to the media about that call.
And you think in light of this, you're qualified to be a federal judge?
Senator, I never spoke to the
You
media.
say that about a client?
Senator, as I said, those were not my words, and I never spoke to the media about the meeting in question. I take my obligations, ethical and otherwise, incredibly
Counsel,
seriously.
you said that, didn't you?
Senator, I did not say those words.
I think we've established from the recent lines of questioning that you worked at Jones Day. You were a partner at Jones Day, is that right?
That's correct, Senator.
And you had, how long were you at Jones Day, out of curiosity?
I was at the firm for 6 years, Senator.
Okay. You had a series of clients in that time, I imagine. Is that fair to say?
That's correct.
That included a series of hedge funds, global hedge funds. Is that right?
Yes, Senator.
Funds like Altair Global, Claren Road Asset Management, Glendon Capital Management, Nakota Capital, Oak Tree Capital Management, Ochre Rose, and Centerbridge Partners. Does that sound right?
That sounds right.
And you represented these hedge funds in particular during a debt crisis that Puerto Rico had in 2017. Do you remember that?
Yes, Senator.
So you, however, you, on behalf of your clients, you invented a novel claim. You filed a lawsuit under the takings clause. Is that right?
That's correct, Senator.
So you argued that the government was stealing from the hedge funds by freezing all of the funds. And if they pursued that course of action and didn't give your clients all of their money first, then they would have violated the U.S. Constitution. Is that right?
That's not quite correct, Senator.
Why was it a good idea? Why represent all of these hedge funds trying to get billions of dollars out of Puerto Rico when other everyday bondholders are left to pick up the slack? You dragged this thing out for years. I mean, you went back and forth to the circuit court. Other hedge funds then followed your lead. They thought that was terrific arguments, super inventive. So then they did the same thing. So then other hedge funds piled in. The bankruptcy went on and on. Puerto Rico was forced to institute serious austerity measures, much to the detriment of their citizens, average people who don't have money for hedge funds. Why is it a good idea to go to Puerto Rico and to try to get your rich clients prioritized over normal people in a way that seriously impoverished, if I might say, the citizens of the island? I'm just wondering why.
Senator, I have represented a number of clients over the course of my career. I have represented the government. I have represented clients.
So you don't have any problem with this? You think this is a good idea? You stand by it?
Senator,
No
my
regrets?
job in that representation was to vigorously represent my clients, which I did.
Sure, but we'd established, I think, a second ago, I thought you told Senator Kennedy that you resigned from Jones Day over a client that the firm was representing who you didn't like.
Senator, that is not at all what I said.
You didn't resign from Jones Day?
Senator, I did not resign from Jones Day because of any particular representation.
Oh, so it wasn't a moral, you had no moral quandaries?
Absolutely not, Senator.
You had no moral quandaries with any of the cases at Jones Day? That's your testimony?
Senator, I left the firm in January of 2021 because I was offered an opportunity to return to public service. It's an
Okay.
opportunity the firm supported and that I took.
You had no quandaries with them representing in the Trump litigation? You had no
Senator,
problem with that? That's your testimony?
Senator, I did not leave my firm because of that representation.
You had
I
no
left
moral
my
problem with
firm,
it.
Senator, I left the firm months later because I received an opportunity to
You
return
had no problem
to
with
public
that, and you had no
service.
problem representing the bondholders. So your testimony is you're happy to represent anybody who comes your way. Donald Trump, you bet. The bondholders, you bet. Hedge funds, you bet. Whoever. That's your testimony? I just want to make sure I got it right.
Senator, throughout my career, I have adhered to the code of ethics that all lawyers are bound by.
Well, sure, but the code of ethics allow you to make money from anybody. Listen, you can choose your clients. I'm not accusing you of any ethical violations at all. I'm not. I'm just trying to figure out why you thought it was important to have these hedge funds as your clients, and if you had any moral quandaries. And your testimony is you didn't have any moral quandaries, which is fine, but I just wonder if that's the best judgment.
First off, let's talk about Senator John Kennedy. The man is a force of nature. He starts with that New York Times article, a direct hit to the nominee's credibility. He brings up a quote where she allegedly said a lawsuit brought by her own firm was for no other reason than to deprive poor people of the right to vote. Can you believe that? She was a partner at the firm that was getting paid to bring that very lawsuit, and she's saying this about her own client. That's a massive ethical red flag. Kennedy doesn't let her off the hook, repeatedly asking her if she said it. Her defense fully calls it a potential violation of the Code of Ethics. This isn't just about a disagreement. It's about a fundamental breach of trust between a lawyer and their client. If you can't trust a lawyer to not disparage you to the media, how can you possibly trust them to represent you on the bench? Then Senator Josh Hawley steps in, and he goes straight for the jugular. He brings up her work for hedge funds during the Puerto Rico debt crisis. This gets out that she created a novel claim, a legal maneuver designed to prioritize her rich clients over normal, everyday bondholders. When he asks her why she would do something that led to austerity measures for the people of Puerto Rico, her answer is a complete cop-out. She talks about vigorous representation and the code of ethics, but she completely sidesteps the moral question. Hawley's point is so critical. While the code of ethics might allow you to represent anyone, that doesn't mean you should. A federal judge needs to have a moral compass, not just a legal one. The nominee's responses to both senators were incredibly evasive. She repeatedly dodged direct questions and relied on scripted, almost robotic answers. She claimed she didn't resign from her firm over the Trump litigation, but she also admitted to leaving to return to public service, a convenient excuse. It was clear that both Kennedy and Hawley were looking for a sign of moral conviction, a hint that she understood the difference between what is legally permissible and what is morally right. And based on this transcript, that sign was nowhere to be found. The whole exchange just reinforces the importance of these hearings. We need people in positions of power who will stand up for the common person, not just the rich and powerful. Kennedy and Hawley did an excellent job of exposing a nominee who, in my opinion, appears to lack that crucial moral clarity.